Over the course of like the past couple of months, I've been making quite a few of USB cable hacks, primarily micro USB ones. What I do is I use them to host external devices such as game pads, flash drives, and keyboards and whatnot. Mainly, the one I've been working on quite a bit was a PS3 controller for my phone. I had to rebuild that because my dog thought it'd be a good idea to chew on it, so I had to rebuild that one, and I've actually decided to make yet another micro USB hack. This is going to be the second one I've made involving the components. This one is a micro USB hub. It gives us the option to plug the micro USB end into like a phone or a tablet and host multiple devices externally. Like, so you can have like a keyboard, a mouse, flash drive, and flash drive again, or whatever peripheral you have for that. So that gives us the option to host quite a few devices, which is endless. You don't even need more than three. But the goal behind this is getting a micro USB cord that you can easily take apart, cut into, and then do the soldering that you need to do. What sets aside a micro USB from a micro USB that can host external devices is a pin on the inside of the connector that allows the pass-through of an external device. There are 5 pins on a micro USB end, but only 4 are used in normal transmission of power and data. In order to allow a pass-through, we have to short a pin to ground. The pin that you have to short to ground is right next to ground, so it's not that hard of a short. I've actually done quite a few of them. Like I said, some are easy, some are hard. I've never worked with this cord before, so I'm hoping it's easy. It's a really cheap cord I picked up somewhere. I picked it up it was like $3, and the reason why I picked it up was because it was a flat wire, and I thought that'd be kind of cool to go along with the flat wire for this one. So I'm going to be keeping this end as well as the micro USB, so that way I can use it for laptop use and then phone use, and whatever else I need it for. So the first thing we have to do is cut into this and see how easy it is to get at the pins. That's always the hardest part. So getting a cheap cable is always the best way to go, because the cheap ones are made cheap. That's the only thing behind it. Now, there are 5 pins, like I said. We have, the orientation of them, let's see, we have 5 volts, then we have these two right here are for data. This pin right here is what is called sense. It's the pin that's not used in normal micro USB cords. This is also found on other USB cords too, such as Mini B, I think it's called. That's the one used for PlayStation controllers and whatnot. And then we have ground right here. Sorry for my handwriting. So what we do in this modification is we just take this pin right here and just short it to ground. So it's really that easy. Looking at it paper is really easy, but actually doing it to the actual micro USB end is kind of a challenge because it's just so hard to get at. So I'm going to try that right now, I guess. Another thing I was worried about was this wire on the inside of this cord. I thought it might have been like that stranded wire they use for headphones, which is always just a pain to solder. But looking at it, you can actually kind of see the wire, and it doesn't look like it's stranded. It looked like it's probably stranded wire, but not the stranded enamel wire that they use for headphones. So that's good. Before I take apart the hub, I'm just going to cut into the end right here and see if I can get access to the pins, because that's pretty much the only thing that's setting aside this project. It's just the hardest part, is getting inside of the micro USB end. So in order to do that, we need a hobby knife. I don't know which attachment's better for this. Like, there's actually a few that I've tested, but this one tends to work the best for me. I mean, there's one rounded tip that actually works quite well too, but this one I've been using for a while, so I'm just going to stick to this one because it's been working best out of the few I've done. So let's get that going, and we'll cut into that and see how easy it is. Alright, so we cut along the seam of the micro USB end with the X-Acto knife, and then once we get the pins modified, just the two, we super glue the case back together, and then it's almost as good as new. Like 9 times out of 10, it looks like it's not even touched. If you do it right, though, you gotta be careful with it, and take your time. That's the most important part. See, this blade, I'm not entirely sure what type of blade it is, but it cuts right through the plastic. Also, be careful with hobby knives. That's a no-brainer. You just don't want to cut yourself. So just cut like that. You may go off track though a little bit when it comes to the seams, but shouldn't be that big of a deal. And once you get in there, I usually give it a few cuts to make sure I'm really in there. Now, there are a few cables out there that are actually really cheap that have plastic enclosures, and those you can just pop open with a flathead screwdriver. Those are the ones I recommend getting because they're just easier to get inside. You don't have to worry about using a knife. I used that one for a PlayStation 3 controller not too long ago for my phone. I haven't rebuilt my PlayStation 3 controller for my phone, so I might actually do a video on that. I only made the cord, which for some reason is the hardest part, because I can't find the power and data cord for a PS3 anywhere locally, only online. I got lucky and I found one. Oh, actually, I didn't even find that. I actually ended up reusing the same one. I had to get at the pins that were the data wires that were actually left and use that. So my dog didn't really screw me over that much on that. But it's just for some reason a pain in the neck to find. I don't know why they're so hard to find. That like Walmart doesn't even have them, which is weird. Radio Shack probably has them, but like I said, I don't go there that often because they like to overcharge. Alright, so we got the plastic part open. See if you can see that. I'm going to zoom out real fast. Alright, so we got the plastic enclosure lifted a little bit, as you can somewhat see. I just have to go over it a few more times. But yeah, anyways, with my PlayStation 3 controller, I got the cord made, which is always the hardest part. And now I just have to make a mount for it again, which I might do out of wood or acrylic or something. I have a little mount right now for it that I kind of like, but it doesn't work entirely. It uses a suction cup to hold my phone, but the only problem with it is my phone has a case on it that has channels within the case, so the suction cup won't adhere to the case. So I have to take my phone out of the case in order to use it, so I have to make something that adapts better to the case. Because I don't want to take my phone out of the case, put it on the PlayStation 3 controller, then risk it dropping it and then damaging it or something. So I have to make something a little more suitable for my phone with the case on. Alright, so this is actually really good. You can't really see it, but I'll get a better view in a second. Underneath the rubber enclosure, there's actually a tab that you can lift up and pull apart from the pins, so that's really, really nice. Because that, for some reason, was the hardest parts. So, alright, so there's that. And for some reason, they didn't color code the wires, which is annoying. Well, that kind of pisses me off. So that'll be fun. I have to figure that out now. Won't be too hard because the wires are going straight, so you can figure it out. I mean, let's see if you can see that. Let me get you zoomed in. Alright, so for some reason they didn't color code the wires. They're all gray. But once you get one pin figured out, the rest is kind of easy to figure out. And I think ground is far right, and then you got ground. This sense pin, data negative, and then data positive, and then 5 volts. No, actually it's 5 volts, data negative, data positive, sense, and ground. So that's not too bad. I mean, it's a good thing the wires are actually straight, so you know how to solder them up later. And when we hook this up to the hub, we're actually running it in parallel with the USB male end right here, so it'll work just the same, just different adapter, little receiving end. All right, so I got that open. Now we have to get inside there and solder that up. So the easiest way to get the metal enclosure away from the pins is to lift up this little tab right here and pull it apart, just pull it apart, hopefully without bending the pins. I mean, once you bend the pins, it's pretty much like ruined almost, because you have to find a way to reset the pins, and that's just a pain. So we got that part lifted up. There might be another tab underneath this part. Check that out real fast. Hopefully not. Alright, no there isn't. I do apologize if I go out of frame once or twice. So I got my camera zoomed in quite a bit. And if you hear a creak, that's because my chair, I'm getting up to check and see if it's in frame or not. But this should be in frame. So, continue. Alright. Alright, so now that that's lifted, we have to free it. May take a second. Like I said, I've never worked with these cords, so I'm not really familiar with their mechanisms of holding stuff. So hopefully, all right, there we go. All right, and there we go. We have the metal part off. You want to hold on to that. Don't get rid of it. Also, put it aside to where it can't get damaged. You don't want to bend that either. Once that's bent, you're pretty much screwed. You can't get it back to its normal shape. So put that aside. Alright, so we have the pins exposed. Now we have to identify which pin's what. And the easiest way to do that is to look for ground. And the easiest way to look for ground is to look for the pin on the far right or left, and the pin next to it that has no connection. So I'm pretty sure it's far right. Not entirely sure though. Let's get you in frame. So do some poking around a bit. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is this pin right here. The fourth one in. I'm almost positive. I'm not entirely sure, but we will look a little more. Alright, probably out of frame here, just 1 second. I'm just going to look real fast out of frame so I can see better which pin goes where. Because I want to make sure I solder the right pin. Alright, so alright, so it looks like that this is the pin I'm after. Oh, right there. This is the pin I'm after right here. That looks like it's the sense pin. So the pin next to it is ground. And once you have ground figured out, you know which other pins are, which I'll write those down in a second. So let's get that pin soldered to that pin. Alright, so it's always best when you're unsure of something to do a little bit of research on it. And I'm glad I did. I actually was wrong about the previous pin that I discovered. I put the case back on it and looked at it from left to right, and I actually found out that my the ground pin was on the opposite side of the one I previously found. So I would have shorted the wrong pin to the wrong thing, and that might have caused some issues. I'm not sure. I don't know if it would have damaged anything, but good thing I looked it up. Here is an image I pulled up on my phone. So yeah, we got ground, which is the 5th pin from the right in, and ground is all the way over here to the left. So it's the first pin on the left, the 5th on the right end. So when we we'll pull the enclosure off, which I got to do carefully again. We have these pins right here. So this pin is sense, which is right there. So that's good. Good thing I looked it up, so I was unsure about it. I should have known because I've actually done these a few times, and I should know because the way the pins bend gives you an idea of which pin's what. So I should have known, but good thing I looked it up. So now we can go ahead and solder. And the easiest way to solder these pins is not to use a wire. I know a lot of people, tutorials I've seen and images I've seen online use wires and whatnot to do it. It works. It does work, but it's not the best way. The easiest way to do it is to do a small solder bridge, which you'd want to avoid normally in electronics, but for this it's needed. That way you have less room, take it up inside the enclosure and whatnot. So a small solder bridge is easily the best way to go. You're going to need a steady hand for that though, and probably a few months of experience behind soldering, because it's really, really precise soldering when it comes to these tiny pins. So let's get that part going. I'll get my iron fired up and we'll go there. Also, I have a Galaxy Note 2, and this is what I'll be using the USB hub on, along with my Windows tablet that I have. So that's why I want the micro USB connection for it, so I can use it for my phone and my tablet, and whatever else I run into. I'm thinking about getting a new phone, but I really don't care. I don't know if I want a new phone yet, because Galaxy Note 2 is quite old, but it's still a really good phone, and I have no need for a new one, so I gotta push that materialistic nonsense aside and focus on my needs compared to wants. And I don't need a new phone, I just want a new phone. So if you look at it that way, you save money. So let's get the soldering part started, and we should be done. Hopefully this... Alright, so this is going to be a hard to view clip, primarily because the connections I'm working with are so small, so keep that in mind. The pins are so small, so my hand's going to get in the way quite a bit. So here comes the other hard part, which is carrying solder from pin 4 to ground. Like I said, getting the case off is a hard part. Then soldering these pins is also a hard part, because you don't want to damage the pins. You don't want to expose them too long to heat, because that'll damage them as well. And it's just a tricky part. So the easy way to do this, which again isn't recommended for soldering through-hole components, or anything rather, is to tin your iron a little bit, clean it off, tin the tip of your soldering iron a little bit, clean it off, and then tin it again, and get a nice little bead of solder on it. Then touch the pins only for a second that you wish to get the solder bridge on. This is a really hard part, because you definitely don't want to short more pins. And once you short other pins, it's kind of hard to unshort them, so I'm always going to keep that in mind. So I'm going to stop talking and focus on this real fast. Alright. That should do it. Let me give it a closer look. Yep. Alright, cool. So I got pin 4 and 5, which is ground and sense, soldered together, but also, as luck would have it, I shorted pin 3 to those as well, so I have to disconnect that connection, which is rather challenging. I don't know if you can see that on camera, but this part's not fun. Using solder wick, that doesn't work all that well with this either. What I do is I solder, tin my iron, clean it, and then try to wick the solder away with my iron. Probably unrecommended still, but it works. Another way to do this is to get your utility knife and put it as a spacer for the pins you want to disconnect, and heat up the solder and push it through. So there. So yeah, so you heat up the solder and you push the tip through, and it separates the solder, thus disconnecting the unwanted short. So, yep. So we do have the short we want, so that's good. So right now, I'm gonna give you hopefully a better view if I could really get in there. I'll give you a better view of this. You can see what I did exactly, because my hand was probably in the way quite a bit there. So right now, all I have to do is I'll pretty much assign the pin out to these colorless wires, so I can solder it up correctly to the hub. Alright, so before I move on to the USB hub, I'm going to see if my connection's good enough, put on the metal enclosure, and see if my phone can sense the pin being connected. Most smartphones and tablets will let you know that there's a host option enabled, so that's what I'm looking for right here. Also, before you do this build, make sure your phone's compatible with OTG or hosting. You don't want to do all this for nothing, so just make sure your phone is capable of hosting external devices before you go on and do this. So let's get the metal part back on. Alright, good, that slides on well. Close it up. I'm not going to super glue this guy yet, but that will happen eventually. And plug in my phone First, I want to make sure. I did end up cutting this wire earlier, so just to make sure it's flat wire, so I'm going to just cut that off so my phone doesn't short out from anything. So that's the last thing I want. Alright, so just like that, and then we can connect it. So once I connect it, my phone should read it as host or something. I forgot what my message is, but it should say like host enabled or whatever. Another good idea is to keep the plug in the right position. Alright, so it works. You can't necessarily see it right now, but just 1 second. Get my message stuff out of here. Alright, let's get that out of here. Let's clear all that. Go back here. So, once my phone, see it says USB connector disconnected. Oh, so you can see that right there. Alright, so I'll plug it in again and you'll see USB connector connected. That's the message or alert I get when my phone is in host mode. Right there. So my solder job was good, which is good. You know, always want a good solder job. So that's good. So now we can move on to the hub. Do that real fast. And the hub is right here. So that's one good thing. If you're ever in like a store and you see like a little kiosk or whatever dedicated to cheap ass USB cables, grab one or two. You might end up using it for something. That's normally what I do because I end up using them quite a bit for stuff like PlayStation 3 controllers and keyboards and whatever I really feel like could use a micro USB option. This hub is not the cheapest. I think it's like a $12 USB hub. Overkill. But I like it, so I'm going to add my connections to it. Get that out. Alright, so these are the pins right here we're going to be soldering to. I actually see a fourth pin. That's weird. A fourth wire. That is weird. Let's see. We have an additional blue wire. I don't know what the heck that's to. It might be for the shielding. I'm not sure. Yeah, that is weird. That's odd. Alright, so I gotta get the pin out for this real fast. Which shouldn't be hard. I just gotta get whatever the hell that was. Looks like hot glue over it. Hopefully. My guess is the blue wire, which is right there. My guess is that's for shielding or whatever. It might be connected to this. Actually, I can test it out real fast. What I'm thinking, why not test it out? We have the technology. Set my multimeter continuity and see what the hell this blue wire does. That's weird. Alright, so blue goes to looks like that one. That pin right there. So we'll just touch that and then touch that. So it is. That's weird. Alright, so the blue wire is soldered to the casing, which I'm guessing is for shielding. It might be, or whatever. I don't know. Or just to ground it or something. I've never seen that. That is weird. But I'm guessing all the pinouts, the color-coded wires are appropriate for the standard pinout. So red, 5 volts, black is ground, white. I think white is data negative and green is data positive. Got that written down right here. So I think that's what that is. So what we do now is solder. So let's get that going. Let's see. How much length do I want for this? Let's go about. I don't know how long that is. Let's go about that long for that. That gives us enough room. Because I kind of want this one a little bit longer than that one, so I can use it for, for a bit of a reach for certain things. So that's now we're going to cut into it. Cut that more level, actually. All right, cut into it. that wire level. Alright, now we're going to that should do it. A bit of a idiot's cut. I call that an idiot's cut because you shouldn't cut towards yourself. It's idiotic. And then we should have the wires free. Hopefully. Alright. Alright, here we have the wires. Looks like the wires are free. I guess that's one thing about one thing that's bad about cheap USB cords is you can't expect them to be color coded. Or if they are color coded, they're probably not even color coded to the norm. You know, like you'll have purple thrown in there, yellow. See that quite a bit with cheap ones. So let's free this up. Just gonna do this off camera real fast. Get this going. I mean, there's a gray wire thrown in there. The rest look like they're white. This is weird. Yeah, there's gray and then white. 3 whites. I accidentally snipped one of the wires off. Let's get that guy back out. Alright. I don't know why I'm doing this over a notebook either. Alright, so that one is exposed now. I'm thinking, like, if gray is ground, that would help out quite a bit. I'll check that in a second. That'd be pretty nice if it was. I'm just trying to free up the insulation from the cable, from the wires, and get those exposed. Actually, we have... That's weird. We have a slightly reddish white wire, a white wire, a slightly greenish white wire, and then gray. I don't know if that's visible on camera, but that's exactly what it is. They are color-coded, just not as, prominent as they should be. That's weird as hell. So yeah, I think we're actually good here with the color coding. I'll see if that'll focus. I don't know if it will. It's probably not going to focus. I'll take a picture of it, though. That is weird. So we do have color coding. Just going to double check and make sure it's the right color. Like I said, once you find ground, you found all of them. So ground is far left, and that is so ground is gray. And then we have green next to it, which we have, and then we have red next to that. I mean white next to that, which we have, and then red next to that. So this is actually color coded. That is weird as hell. It's just so very faint. Wow. Alright, so now we got to get these wires soldered and then tapped into that. So I'm going to get onto that real fast. And so I just went ahead and cleaned up that the red wire a little bit to make it a little more even and nicer looking. Because that plays a decent role when soldering to the circuit board. So right now I'm going to tin the wires. Little tip or a piece of advice. When you're dealing with really thin wire, that means thin shielding too, and when you try to strip that with your wire strippers, what happens is sometimes the wire itself actually breaks. So to avoid that, use your fingernails and pinch the wire apart, the shielding from the wire apart, but do only a little bit of it though, because if you do too much, the heat from your soldering iron is going to melt the plastic back more. So the less you do, the less will melt back when you solder, if that makes any sense. So always pull back as little as you possibly can, so it saves you some shielding in the long run. And that. Right. Alright, so now we just have to solder those wires to the same pins on the USB hub circuit board, which I guess we could do. Well, that side looks pretty easy to do too. This part doesn't come off, so that's kind of annoying, I know, but it's there. I don't feel like desoldering it just to resolder. Even that probably would be a better idea, but I'm just going to try to keep it simple for now. So now, one by one, we solder, which is always the fun part. Alright, there you go. I'm also using a new camera that I'm getting used to. I haven't really figured it all out that much. I don't like reading manuals, so I apologize if it's a little choppy. Alright, so red is far right. So I'm just going to solder that wire first, and then we'll go from there. Alright, so red's far white, or far right, I mean. Now, normally when I make hubs with a micro USB connection, I like to use the USB hub man. They're just cheap. It was like $5, and they're easy to hack because of actually the USB ports you can actually move around. But every time I solder those, the traces lift up. And it's just not worth the hassle, so that's why I'm sticking to this guy right now. So now we're going to do, let's see, I think we're working with green right now. Let me double check before. I just gotta peel off this plastic a little bit. I think it's green. Like I said, they're faintly coated. Very, very faintly coated. Oh, this one's white actually. Yeah, so they're. I hate that. I really do. They're just so very, very faintly color coded. So we're gonna do white next, which I think is this pin right there, right next to red, as it should be. All right, so let that push down. It's a pain in the ass to see. Alright, just like that. Alright, so that wire is good. Now we're moving on to green, which is the one right next to that one. Right next to white, so that's kind of good. Speaking of copper traces lifting up, an easy way to avoid that is to solder the joint as fast but as slow as you can. That doesn't make sense. You want to heat up the solder joint plus the wire at the same time, and then pull your iron away from it as fast as you can. It works best for me anyways. There we go, and now we have to jump ground the black wire. Which is right there. My dog is dreaming. That's weird. Alright, so now we jump ground, which is top left. If you hear faint barks, it's because my new puppy is actually daydreaming right now. So we have to jump ground now, which is right there. Alright, so we're going to Yeah, I got a new dog a little bit ago. Right now she's dreaming. And she's the one who ate my PlayStation controller that I had for my phone. I had a wooden mount for it and a bunch of wires and stuff, because I had a USB hub for that as well, a USB micro hub for that as well. And so for some reasons, dogs are just attracted to wires and hot glue, so they'll eat that as if it's ready to, if it's easy to get at. So that's why I had to remake that one. She's still learning. She's good though. She's a good dog. Her name's Lucy. Same dog as my current but previous dog, Taz. There's some Moids. White puffballs. Alright. She's 5 months old and Taz is going on 5 years now. Alright, so I have all the wires soldered up, which is good. I'm just going to make sure it works and then insulate a few connections with hot glue and go from there. Then I can close everything up and it'll be good. So I'm going to, I guess the best thing to do right now is to test to see if it works. So let's see. I can grab a flash drive, or if one port works, they all work. That's normally how it goes with hubs, but I want to make sure. I do have a USB keyboard somewhere. I don't know how that went. Alright, so I'm going to grab a flash drive instead. Oh, handy dandy flash drives. I'm actually going to take off my phone case for this, because I know I said earlier I don't like taking off my phone case, but for this I kind of have to, because the the micro USB end isn't put together yet, so it's kind of hard to get inside my case. So let's see, get rid of all that stuff real fast. I find it funny how people want to text me and message me and call me only when I'm making videos. Alright, so let's plug in the flash drive first. You can see, plug in the flash drive to the port first. Right there, and then we'll plug in the micro USB end. When a flash drive is detected to the phone, it actually says mass media, so that'll be a good indicator. Alright, so USB connector connected, and USB mass storage connected. You can't even see that. Oh, let's get in there a little closer. It is a blank storage because it's formatted for Microsoft, so that's going to actually read anything. Let that focus real fast. I used it for my Xbox. I put a game on it. I don't know what game I put on it. Alright, so right there. Oh, it was actually, ironically, it was actually the new Tomb Raider. Well, new-ish. Alright, so we'll unplug this and plug it back in. Just want to make sure you can see the... So there's USB connector disconnected. And we'll plug it back in. It says USB connector connected, and then it should say mass storage. Yep, right there. Mass storage. So the hub works, which is good. So now I have to hot glue the wires just to insulate and then close it up. Alright, so now the fun part, pouring hot glue over everything. My favorite amount of hot glue to use is an ass ton, because I like hot glue. I probably use more of it than I should, but right now I have to really insulate and isolate the ground from everything, because it's kind of exposed, and since it's at an angle, it could touch the white wire, which we don't want. So I have to get hot glue in there. And then I will fold the cable over to the right. And then that should help with stress on the other cords as well, other wires. And then a little more hot glue. Alright, so there you go. You can never use too much hot glue. Well, you probably can. I like using hot glue. Alright, so that's on. So now, once we close it back up, I have to cut a channel for this cord to come through. Zoom up. Alright, so we just have to cut a channel for this cord to feed through now. Once it focuses. I have it on autofocus, so it takes a few seconds to focus, which is... Right, there we go. So I just have to cut a channel for the wire to run through on this case. Let's get this back to normal. The good thing about this hub is it doesn't use any screws, just snaps. Alright, so right there is where the channel should go. So I'm going to do this the quick and dirty way. Just a few snips. Just like that. Do this off the camera real fast. And then break the plastic. Now I suppose if you're like everyone else, you could 3D print it, a new case, or laser cut a new case, or CNC a new case. I don't know, I follow a bunch of DIY sites and I'm just annoyed by the amount of tutorials where people have access to 3D printers and stuff, and then they publish their articles and tutorials and they act like you have access to a 3D printer. That's just annoying. Like, whatever happened to just doing stuff with your hands? Why do you have to 3D print something? Like, I understand it if it's for mass production, but if you're just, you know, like what I'm doing here, cutting away at a piece of plastic so a cord could fit, what's wrong with that? Like, I could actually see someone doing this project, I'm not going to mention names, and 3D printing a case just for it because the cord wouldn't fit. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it, it's just kind of annoying to see. You know, why not just go out and cut the plastic? You don't need to 3D print it. Alright, so we have a bit of a fit issue over here. That worked out. Alright, see how the hot glue is pushing up on the case. So I have to cut back a little more on that. It's my favorite thing is when I actually lose my utility knives far more often than I should. I'm surprised I don't step on them. Especially because I bought this this cheap utility knife set, or hobby knife set, whatever you want to call it. And I think it comes with like 80 parts, and like 30 of them are blades or something like that. I don't really use all the blades, I just use the sharpest one I have with the point. I'm not well read on utility knives and how to use them and what all the blades are for. I just use whatever one I can cut plastic. Because that's pretty much the only thing I use them for, is cutting plastic. Like I'm doing here. I don't really use them for much else. I just use them to modify stuff. Cut holes for switches and all the other stuff, so it works though. Alright, so that snaps, and let's snap this one into place. Hopefully it works. So that's one downfall of using an ass ton of hot glue, is you have too much glue taking up too much room. I don't know, there's something else pushing it up. Figure that out real fast. Like the front of it closes, but the back of it is not. And I don't think it's the hot glue. I think it might be something else. Let's figure it out. There's a piece of plastic there. Alright. Get some more inspection here. So it should close right there. It actually might be the hot glue. Or because the hot glue doesn't go... Yeah, it's actually the hot glue that's pushing it up. Alright, so... get it on there the best I can. Do this off camera real fast. I got the USB hub closed. There's actually a little bit of hot glue that was pushing up against the backside of the case. So that's good. It's closed now. So I'm going to run a quick test before I continue, which the only thing left to do is close up the micro USB. I just want to make sure that's still working. Alright, so USB connector connected and mass storage connected. Probably can't see that's off screen, but it does work. Again, it says blank storage because Microsoft is weird when it comes to storing stuff. So that part's good. So now, in order to close the micro USB end up and make it look more professional, or keep it looking professional, is to use super glue. Just a dab will do. In that case, 3 dabs. And then you just close it up and you hold it for a few seconds until super glue does what it do. So that's normally what I do to keep micro USB cables or any USB cord that I cut into looking professional. Is I just cut really carefully and then I super glue it back together so it doesn't even look like they were touched. Which I like. I like it when they look nice because, again, I've seen USB hacks online where people just expose the entire connector and then wrap it in electrical tape and it just looks sloppy. I've done that once and it's just awful looking, so that's why I like to, keep it looking nice. I mean, I just don't like the idea of it looking so just choppy and sloppy, which is what I see online quite a bit from people. Like there's a few DIY ones out there that where people just need a micro USB and they do it, which works, but still, my preference and opinion is just to keep it looking as nice as you can. And I'm just pinching it shut right now. I'll also show you my Ps3 controller in a second, and the idea behind that. I mentioned earlier that I don't want to get a new phone, at least not for a while. I mean, if I did want to get a new phone, I would stick to Samsung because I love Samsung. I'm actually recording with the Samsung camera right now that I got last month, and I just love Samsung. The Note 2 is just a really good phone. I know it's out of date, but I love it. It's a really good phone. It does everything I need to, then some. It's not slow. They just released a new update for it where it can actually store apps on external storage, which I've been waiting for almost a year for that, so I'm pretty excited about that. The update just brought my phone up to date with every other Samsung. Like, it gave me NFC and whatnot, so that's good. I don't really plan on getting a new phone. I don't see the point to it. If mine breaks, then I'll get a new one. But until that day comes, I'm just going to stick with my Note 2 because, like I said, you got to separate wants from needs. It's how it should be. It's an easier way of living, I think. Because, I want a bunch of shit, but I don't need it. And that's what really helps save money, wants and needs. Like, would want a big-ass TV. Then I ask myself, do I need a big-ass TV? And then I like to do a hypothetical post ownership of something. Like, if I got a new TV, would it really make me happy tomorrow? If you put yourself in that sort of hypothetical scenario, it kind of helps with want and needing, and it kind of helps you if you really want it, because half the time it just seems like you're looking for something to spend money on to obtain a new materialistic object to kind of fill a void or something. And if you just ask yourself, do you need it? Will it make you happy? And if both those come back as no, then I don't think you should buy it. You should buy stuff you need or that'll make you happy. But, sometimes if it makes you happy, it's not necessarily a need. And I'm not saying that, going out and buying something purely based on a want is bad. You know, why not splurge a little bit? But for me, I don't really see materialistic stuff as a necessity in life. Like, some stuff is nice, you know, like a phone is pretty nice to have, but I have a phone right now. This is where the scenario comes into play. I don't need a new phone. I have one. So that's where the hypothetical scenario would really help out in that area, because I see a lot of people just blowing their money on stupid materialistic nonsense and then complain that they're not happy 2 days later. It's like, you know, the old saying, cliche, money doesn't buy happiness. It doesn't, but people act like it will. You know, they act like it's a Band-Aid or something. I know I'm getting all philosophical on you, so I'll stop talking. But that's just my point of view on it, I guess. Weigh the materialistic stuff from what you need, what you want. You're going to live a lot happier. Alright, so USB connector connected. See, that's how you pass time when you're trying to get super glue to dry. Alright, so you got USB connector connected, and then should have mass storage popping up as well. The phone's acting weird. 1 second. Phone's glitching out. 1 second. So that's ironic. Talk about how bad or how good my phone is, and then it stops working. Alright. It does this every once in a while, but, you know, just perfect timing. Alright, so let that turn on real fast. Every phone does it, so that's not enough to make me want to go out and buy a new phone either, so it's really bad timing right there. It's ironic. Ugh. Just gonna wait for my phone to turn on, and then we'll do one last test. It should be good. So we made a micro USB hub that allows for tablets and smartphones to host external devices such as flash drives, keyboards, mice, and external hard drives even. I don't know if they require a separate power source. They might. So it just gives you more options to use on your phone, which, you know, I like doing this type of stuff. It's a lot of fun. So I can use like my keyboard on my phone, which I don't know where the hell that is right now, but it's fun to use. And my tablet also has a micro USB port along with a normal USB port, only if it's connected to the keyboard. But sometimes I don't like using the keyboard, so the hub would come in handy for that. So let's test this out one more time. Make sure everything works, and then we'll wrap up the video. And all my stuff connecting. Alright, USB mass storage connected. So, in short, it does work. Blank USB again, Microsoft being weird. One thing I would not recommend doing is using the micro USB and then plugging this port or this plug into a port on your computer. You don't want to do that because it might double the current, which you don't want to do. It could damage it. You'll get weird signals from the data. So I wouldn't recommend doing that. Only use one at a time. So that is how to make a micro USB hub for smartphones and tablets while maintaining the compatibility for laptop USB ports. So hopefully this was a fun video for you. I did this one spur of the moment. I had a few minutes. I had about like an hour and a half to kill. And I just wanted to edit a new video because I have new software I want to try out. So hopefully this was a fun video. Hopefully it wasn't too bad. And hopefully you enjoyed my rambling of materialistic stuff. I'm chock full of that. So hopefully it wasn't too ear-wrenching. And if you like, subscribe, comment, yada yada, normal stuff people say. And check out my Facebook for more updates because I'm actually got a decent-sized project in the making. A really good one. I'm hoping to get going soon, within 4 months. Hopefully, I foresee it being big, but I don't want to get my hopes up. So, I know it's kind of contradicting the whole hopefully saying, but I said I would show you my Ps3 controller working for this, and I'll do that right now. Alright, so here's my PlayStation 3 controller. I don't own a PlayStation 3, not because I don't like them. I actually grew up playing PlayStation for, the longest time. PlayStation 2. One of my top favorite consoles. But here's the PlayStation 3 controller. I modified it a little bit. I took out the battery inside of it so my phone doesn't charge the battery. So that's why I took the battery out. and I put this on it. This is only temporary because my previous mount, like I said, was eaten by my dog, and there's actually chew marks right on the side I don't think you can see. But the idea for this was to use a suction cup to hold my phone in place, which actually works only with my phone. Like I said, the case I have for my phone, both cases I have for my phone, have these channels in them that won't allow a airtight connection with the suction cup, so that's why I can't use this, because of these little channels, unless I fill those little channels with something, but I'm not going to worry about it. So I'm just going to make a new mount. So the idea here is to put the suction cup on my phone like this, and I'm using a little piece of metal, so that's why it's flimsy back and forth, so it's one thing. And I'll play some Grand Theft Auto San Andreas real fast. Alright. Oh, and this is a micro USB. Blowing shit. A micro USB cord right here. It has the OTG pass-through, the hack we just did. And then it has the PS3 connector right there. This was actually just a normal charging cable I picked up for $3 as well. And I just soldered the fourth to ground, and then all these wires to the, I think it's USB mini right here. So then I filled it with a bunch of hot glue. So this looks professionally done. Like, it doesn't even look like it was opened or anything. So I'm proud of that. But I have to cut it up when I make my new mount. So let's plug in this. Now with some Androids, you have to have a driver to actually operate the PS3 controller natively. I use 6-axis enabler. It uses the pass-through host, so it doesn't require root access, which is good because I don't want to root my phone for just a controller. So I plug that in, and you should see those lights right there flashing. And then we'll go to the 6-axis setup real fast. Yep. Again. Alright, so we'll go to 6-axis right here. And hit OK. And then the center button, which is what they ask for. I think I might have just closed it out. Alright, yeah, so it's working. I closed it out on accident too fast. But you have to, I'll show you that again. See, it actually shows all the keys working and whatnot. And I actually have a few emulators on here, not to play ROMs, but to see if I can map the keys. So that's why I have those. And then, let's see, I'll play some Grand Theft Auto real fast. Another thing I noticed is when my dog chewed on my phone, the mount, that the triangle and circle keys have switched, along with the square and X. Now, this could be part of the update that my phone had. It could be a glitch. Like I said, I don't own PlayStation 3, so I have no idea why it would be doing that. So it could be something along the lines of that, like an update error, or my dog hit something weird, which wouldn't make sense to me, but it's a little bit of a hassle. I mean, I'll figure it out eventually. I'll get another PlayStation 3 controller and test it out, but as you can see, everything works. Let's turn up the volume. This is my favorite game to play using a PS3 controller because it feels like PlayStation 2. Obviously, but as you can see, square is actually switched with X, which I hate. I don't know why that happened. So if there's anyone out there, any PlayStation 3 aficionados who know what the issue is here, please let me know, because I would love to hear it, and I would love to get this working as normal. It's not that big of a deal, though. You just have to adapt to it. It's not that bad, but it is annoying as hell. And it's just like playing on PlayStation 2, which is really good. I'm trying to find something. The controls for Grand Theft Auto San Andreas are all just native. Like the San Andreas actually recognizes a PS3 controller only when you have 6-axis, so all the controls are mapped out for you, so you don't have to do that. But like I said, just these 4 buttons swap places, with one of the 2, which is just annoying. And of course, I spawned out in the middle of nowhere. Let's see if I can load a different game. See, circle is triangle. I really hate that. I don't know why that happened, but it did. I'll just continue. But yeah, everything works on it just as you would expect. Another fun game to play with this is Modern Combat 5, which I suck so much at, but it is fun to play. I played multiplayer a little bit, but it's just so hard. I can't get used to it. Like, it has really good graphics for a phone game. So I'm sure some people already know. It's been out for a while. And you can use the PlayStation 3 controller on it as well, except it recognizes it as an Xbox controller, which is kind of weird, but the controls are a little odd. So... Also, I apologize, but there is swearing in San Andreas, as you just heard, so divert your ears 10 seconds ago. Like, it works really awesomely, and I'm kind of still used to Grand Theft Auto 5 controls, so it's kind of hard to adapt back and forth, but it works really, really well, as you can see. And, let's see. I play this game on my tablet and on my phone quite a bit when I have time to kill. Especially when I'm at work sometimes. I just bring this with me because I'm bored. Alright, there I go, dying. But yeah, so the PlayStation 3 controller works, except for those keys. Could be an update, software glitch, whatever. So if you want to see me making a video, or if you want to see a video of me making a PS3 controller more compatible with an Android phone, let me know, because I plan on doing that probably next week. Because I want to get this done, because I like playing with it, playing my phone with it and stuff. So if you want to see that, let me know in the comments or whatever. And let's see.